Have you ever heard of law of attraction? A concept that claims that you can manifest all your desires by just focusing on them. Sounds too good to be true, right? Well, in this video, I'm going to deep dive into this particular concept and answer that burning question. Is law of attraction a scam or not? From renowned self-help gurus and even skeptics, there are multiple opinions on this particular concept. Some swear by its effectiveness, while others, they brush it away as some kind of pseudoscience that is not valid. But here's the thing. I've done some extensive research on this. I've also analyzed some real-life experiences to bring you an unbiased opinion about this. So let's get started. Now, this whole concept of law of attraction got popular in the year 2006 when this book called The Secret was released by Rhonda Byrne. And that movie also made its waves, and suddenly everybody started to talk about law of attraction, how you can close your eyes, think about what you want, and attract that dream life, whatever you want. And it was during that time I got introduced to this concept. So it's been a long time since I've been in touch with this topic. And then as I was doing my research, I came to know that there were three groups of people that actually popularized this even before the book. Did you know that the concept of law of attraction was first introduced in the year 1912? It was published in a book called The Master Key System by Charles F. Hannell. Charles F. Hannell introduced this concept of how you can use your thoughts. When you focus on what you want, you can manifest whatever you want. It was in that book in 1912. And then later on, in the year 1937, Napoleon Hill launched his book Think and Grow Rich. So while Napoleon Hill did not specifically use the words law of attraction in his book, but it was basically the same principles on which this whole concept works. Napoleon Hill was commissioned by Andrew Carnegie, a multi-billionaire at that time, to go and do a research on some of the top millionaires in the world back then, to create a philosophy behind success. So Napoleon Hill, he actually launched this book called Law of Success, which is the big one. And then Think and Grow Rich came out later, which is more like the essence of whatever he has been teaching. So it's the 13 principles that he shares in that book. And all of these principles were essentially the law of attraction principles. In fact, he uses the word The Secret so many times in that particular book, even in the initial chapters of Think and Grow Rich. And later on, we've seen people like Rhonda Byrne use the same words, The Secret, when it became popular. And even popular authors in the recent times like Jack Canfield, Tony Robbins, and all of them, they have basically built their entire business around the concept of law of attraction being the foundational principles, but giving it their own packaging. When I was doing research, I actually could track the 7-generation success lineage of Tony Robbins. Many of you know Tony Robbins today, right? Super popular rock star in the training and coaching industry, and he's a legend in this space. And as I was tracking where he learned from and who did his masters learn from, it goes back to the 1800s. If you go to Google and search for success lineage of Tony Robbins, you'll come across my blog article. In this article, I've actually gone deep to understand that the first person is Thomas Scott in 1850, who was a clerk at the Pennsylvania Railroad. So he was a mentor to Andrew Carnegie. Andrew Carnegie was again a famous American businessman who was a mentor to Napoleon Hill. Napoleon Hill was a mentor to James Breckinridge Jones, who was a mentor to James Earl Schoff, who was a mentor to Jim Rohn, and Jim Rohn was a mentor to Tony Robbins. So when I was doing this research, I got to know that all of these leaders or all of these influencers, if I should call them, they have been speaking the similar philosophy, but just that the packaging was different. So while I was studying this philosophy and while I'm also implementing some of these things in my life, I've also understood that there are some dangers of law of attraction that people need to be aware of if they are not able to get the right perspective. So the first person that popularized law of attraction was Charles F. Hannell, and then later it was Napoleon Hill, and there is also Esther and Jerry Hicks who has popularized this. It is said that Esther Hicks, he used to be channeling into a group of non-physical entities called Abraham, and he used to get a lot of ideas from there, where he used to get downloads of information from these masters on this particular philosophy. So we can understand from this that this particular topic has not been started by one or two people, but it is a philosophy that has been building over for many years. Now, based on my own analogy or analysis of this particular topic, I've come to understand that as humans, we are both senders and receivers of information. We are like a transmitter and receiver of information. Like a radio can transmit, meaning it can play something. It can also receive information from somewhere. And there's also another angle to this, that just by visualizing, you will not be able to get anything. There is law of attraction, but the law of action is more important. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So the concept of karma, which has been so in our Indian philosophy, and it's not Indian, but I would say the Vedic philosophy, which is beyond religion, which has been there for thousands of years. I think that is one angle that law of attraction is missed out on. When I look at the movie The Secret, when I saw it for the first time, it was like, wow, it is amazing, visualize, get whatever you want. But we also need to understand that there is some karmic baggage that is there in us that determines whether we deserve to get that in this life or not. If you sit in one place and visualize, I'm going to become the Prime Minister of India, Prime Minister of India, Prime Minister of India, and you do that for hours and hours and years together, are you really going to be getting it? You may, but you need to also understand that there is some karmic element from our past life that also has an important factor to play on what we manifest in this life. So based on my analysis, even though I know that this entire philosophy has been popularized over the last 100 years by many of these different teachers, and many of these tools work very well. In fact, I'm going to come to the tools later and share with you some very powerful tools that even I'm implementing. We need to be having a clearer understanding of where to draw the line. We also need to understand that many of our age-old traditions actually have a direct linkage to the philosophy of law of attraction, and sometimes we even ignore that. So let's first understand what are the 7 dangers of law of attraction and how this could become a scam if you are not aware about this. The first big thing is misinterpretation, meaning that by you practicing this, if you have some unrealistic expectations for yourself, or you're misinterpreted with the knowledge and you're not learning this from a proper source, you know what? You could go into a spiral downwards. This is not some magical solution that gives you instant results. There is a journey to everything, and like I mentioned, there's also a karmic baggage that all of us carry. The second danger is blaming the victims, meaning some of the propagators say that if you are going through a negative situation, you have attracted it. This could lead to victim blaming, lack of empathy, and again, it could go in a downward spiral. So you got to be really aware on how you're approaching this and how you're taking this information. The third danger of this law of attraction is oversimplifying this as positive thinking, or in other words, overemphasis on just positive thinking and not real thinking. While positive thinking is valuable, excessive focus on positive thoughts can lead to denying the reality of the situation or even suppressing emotions. What I've realized, it is equally important to address the negative situations and to bring the light from it. It is important to deal with it in a healthy and in a constructive way. The fourth danger I see in law of attraction is lack of action. Everybody gets into visualize every day morning, do your ritual, visualization. But if you're not taking action, how is it going to come into place? And I personally know many people who are living in this, in this zone of phantasmagoria, if I should use that word. When I look at the definition of phantasmagoria, it is a sequence of real or imaginary images like that seen in a dream. People get so caught up into the philosophy of law of attraction that they stop taking action. They get into the state of limbo. If you remember the movie Inception, a dream within a dream within a dream, they're stuck. They do not know what is the real world and what is the dream world. The word limbo means it is an uncertain period of waiting or decision or resolution, which has never happened yet. So a lot of people, they get stuck into the whole visualization process. They get high on this process. They start loving the process, but they don't actually manifest anything because they're not acting on anything. The fifth danger of law of attraction is ignoring societal or systemic conditions. For example, you may be thinking, wow, let me just manifest the love of my life. Or maybe you're in a relationship right now and you're taking care of family, and suddenly you have a desire for somebody else and you use some of these tools and you reject and walk away from family. Some of these things where you're using law of attraction as an excuse to move away from your societal frameworks of societal systems can be a major concern. Number 6, the sixth danger is unrealistic focus on material possessions. Depending on who you learn law of attraction from, it really matters. Because there are people here who are teaching this, saying that you can buy your dream car, you can go your dream vacations, you can get so many material possessions. If those kind of ideologies are planted in your mind in a way where your success is determined by those goals and not your inner happiness, you are in for a joyride and a spin. Or you can become a crorepati by just visualizing it. I'm not saying visualization is not powerful. It is extremely powerful. But you also need to understand that it has to connect from within. Your happiness is not tied to the thing or the goal. It always has to be generated from within. Success is holistic. You need to have the wealth, the relationships, the health, and everything else. It has to be well-rounded. So many people who don't know how to teach law of attraction the right way, or they are teaching it in a different way, which is the way that they look at the worldview based on their value systems, it can really mess up with the students who are learning it. And this actually puts the students into negativity, depression. They go in a downward spiral loop when they're not able to achieve whatever they're visualizing. Which leads me to the seventh danger of law of attraction, is a lot of them disregard personal growth and learning, thinking that they can manifest whatever they want just by visualizing things. I don't want to learn this skill. I'll just visualize whatever I want. I don't need to build myself. I don't need to grow myself. I don't need to learn this. I don't need to learn that. Why? Because I have this amazing tool with me. So it is essential for you to approach law of attraction as a topic with a critical mindset also. It has to be grounded in reality. So now that I've shared with you the 7 potential dangers of law of attraction as a topic, and you've got a perspective and awareness of it, let's talk about the tools. Let's come to the bright side right now. Like, what are the tools that even I use today with the law of attraction principles that has really helped me manifest a lot of amazing things in my life? So again, based on my research, there are 9 essential tools that are there, and there are many others, but 9 I'm going to list it down in this particular video, which are law of attraction tools. The first tool is visualization. How are you visualizing your future? How do you see it? And there's a whole guided process for this. The second tool that a lot of people who teach law of attraction are affirmations, words that reprogram your mind to think in a different way. And also there's a system on how to write affirmations and how to really make it work. The third tool is gratitude. A lot of people who teach law of attraction emphasize on the importance of being thankful for every single thing on a daily basis. The fourth law of attraction tool is vision boards. Taking pictures and actually visualizing whatever you want to achieve in your life. The fifth law of attraction tool is journaling and mentally noting down how you're evolving on a daily basis as a person, so that when you go look back in time, you can actually look at your whole evolutionary process. So in other words, when you are journaling on a daily basis, that helps you stay connected with your inner self. The sixth law of attraction tool is meditation, or clearing the cache in your mind and being very peaceful so that you can allow the information come from different places. As I mentioned before, our mind is like a transmitter and receiver of information, both. The seventh law of attraction tool is letting go. There could be many sub-processes on this, letting go of the past or healing the past, and there are many things that can be done. The eighth law of attraction tool is energy management or energy healing, looking at all the energy centers and working on that. Number 9 is the Hawaiian-based Ho'oponopono, and there are many other tools around this particular topic. So there are many tools out there, and there could be more than this 9 list over here. But let me tell you one thing, that ultimately it comes down to your mind. And if you go back to the Bhagavad Gita, in the 6th chapter, Lord Krishna says the same thing. Your mind can either be your best friend or your worst enemy. And while Lord Krishna is explaining this to Arjuna, Arjuna tells Lord Krishna that I can't control my mind. I can control the wind, but I can't control my mind. And Lord Krishna comes back to him and tells him that with practice, you can actually control your mind. You go back to even our ancient Vedic wisdom in our country today, the yogis who sit and who meditate for years, what they're essentially doing is they're controlling their mind and their senses. The words go Swami, go and Swami, usually the title is given to somebody who's able to control their senses. Someone who's the master of their senses. The word go is senses and the word Swami is the master. So whatever philosophy that you actually study, it actually boils down to the power of the mind and tapping into the power of your mind to achieve whatever we want and to also control it for great things. Those of you who remember the Stanford experiment on the marshmallow test done on children below the age of 5, is those kids who were able to resist temptation, they were able to be very successful later in their life. Now the question you may be asking is, what does this have to do with law of attraction? Every tradition in the world has a connection to law of attraction. It has just been repackaged as law of attraction, and it is coming back in the way that we are seeing it today. When I go back and read all the scripture that I've been reading from my childhood days, when I connect it back to this philosophy, I can see there are a lot of correlations to this. But then, as I mentioned before, things like karma, understanding how the universe works, understanding the journey of the soul, understanding that we are not this body but the spirit soul. And sometimes the soul needs to go through certain situations in life to go through our own curriculum and learning and to experience those situations. So if you're just looking at law of attraction as a philosophy without really understanding the base philosophy of understanding who we are not this body, we are the soul, you could go wrong. And there's a concept back in our Vedic philosophy that there has to be both effort and grace to manifest whatever you want. It is not just effort. It is not just visualization. There also has to be a grace from God, a higher power, or masters, whatever you want to call it, the universe. There's grace that is required. And those who go too deep into law of attraction without the right perspective, they start to think that they are the master. They start to think that they are God. You know what? A drop of water from the ocean has the same qualities of the ocean. But keep in mind that you can't compare that drop of water with the ocean. Similarly, a lot of people who get into the law of attraction, they start to think about themselves as manifestors, or they can be creators. But please understand that we are just a drop of water compared to our universe. It is all channeled, and we are getting this information from a higher plane. So there has to be surrender, and you need to have that mood of service for us to really tap into the true power of law of attraction. We are nothing. We are minute spiritual sparks and beings. And if we can use all these different tools to serve our creator for a higher purpose, then it makes sense. But if you're using all of these tools for your self-centered desires and wants, you'll become like a Duryodhana. You'll become like a Ravana. You'll become like a Hiranyakashipu. And they manifested whatever they wanted, but they crashed and burned because they did not have the ethics and the moralities of applying the same philosophy. The Western world does not have this concept. A lot of them have come to India, they have studied our Indian literature, gone back, repackaged it and given it back to us. And they've done a phenomenal job at doing that. But as of now, we are in the 2023 era. We need to start thinking about where this knowledge is actually coming from. And we need to start connecting the dots. We need to start going back to our roots, to comparing and finding the right solutions based on the tools that all of us are learning. And we need to start moving away from just law of attraction thinking to law of action thinking, because every action has an equal and opposite reaction. And the more we're able to infuse love and service to humanity, to our community, to serve, and like pouring water in the root of a tree is like start to serve our creator with all of these tools. In other words, having devotion in our service, everything will start to fall into place. And even if a negative situation happens, you'll find the brilliance in it. Maybe that is the curriculum the universe is teaching you. Our mind is influenced by various factors, by media, by information, by knowledge, by technology, with AI, so many things that are influencing our thoughts. The true way you can attract what you want in your life is by becoming a master of your mind. And when you use the power of your mind to serve others, when you use the power of your mind to serve our creator is known by millions of names. Allah, Jehovah, Krishna. The word Krishna, if you break the word, it is all attractive. I'm sure you might have not even known about this. The word Krishna means all attractive. He is the original attractor, the source of law of attraction, the cause of all causes. It's the same person. There are some people who connect with the creator on a very personal form, in a personal way. And there are some people who look at the creator as the universe or light or energy and stuff like that. And the best part is, our creator is willing to build a relationship with us based on what we want with him. So the big question is, what do you want to attract in your life? Siddharth Rajsekar here. I hope you found this video useful, and I hope I've been able to give you a totally different perspective on this. Share your thoughts below on what you think about what I just shared. And I would love to hear from you in the comment box. Hit that like button, subscribe to this channel, and I truly look forward to sharing more like this in the future. All the best.